Hey guys, it's Matt, Prime Analog Records, and this has been a couple of weeks of me mulling over what I wanted to tell you and what I wanted to say. And the reality is that this Mobile Fidelity thing, which we all have dealt with ad nauseum, I'm here to say that it's all your fault. It is. This is all your fault. It's the fault of people who have created a market where dishonesty and duplicitousness can and will thrive. Because once you sit there and try to go on and on about your Mobile Fidelity purchases, as some of you in the vinyl community do, you do it and you do it so it's crass. What you're doing is you're creating this climate for this to be happening. And when I say crass, I'm saying that these people that I'm talking about trot these things around like they're Louis Vuitton purses, and I've got more than you do, and all this. I mean, people who continue to buy and promote one step this and one step that. Listen, I've been on the very beginning of Mobile Fidelity's rise. I first bought my first Mobile Fidelity, I think it was 1977 or 78. And I have every single one of my Mobile Fidelities, with the exception of possibly the Silver series of Carole King, which it's the Gain Audio one, or Gain 2 is what they call it, which absolutely sounds incredible, by the way. But all of my original master recordings are incredible, and they sound amazing, and they're from the original master tapes. And when they came out, one of the first things I remember them showing us was when I worked at a record store back then. And what they showed us is that light would pass through this disc. So you could pick it up and you could put it in front of a light bulb or a light source and you could see light through it. And they would say that's how virgin the vinyl is. Anyway, going back to what I was saying about these people that are on here who go on and on about how great this is and how great that is and how much better it is from this. There are several people who I've talked to and I trust because they've told me, go try this one out and see how great it is and stuff like that. I don't have a Mickey Mouse system, and many of you do, who sit there and go buy one steps, which is ludicrous. You should be spending your money on great equipment, not wasting money on an audio source that you can't hear anywhere near the difference. And you guys keep coming back at me and playing games with me, and you know that you're talking trash. You don't know. Just the other day, I got a 1976 Hotel California, and there's no way that the one step's going to sound better than that. There's no way. I ultrasonically cleaned it. It's absolutely incredible. I'm telling you, I can't even believe it's a 46-year-old record. And the thing is, though, if you're buying these things, which I can tell you for a fact that, and Michael Fremer would back me up on this, they keep stepping on these. Stepping on is a drug term. But what they're doing is that they're going in there and remastering and boosting treble and boosting mids and boosting bass. And at the same time, they're changing the entire sound of these great recordings that the artists themselves, they're the ones who signed off on this. So the reality is that what you're doing is you're buying things that have been bastardized and not sounding like the correct form. I did make some notes, obviously. I'm going through, and it's like, my whole thing goes back to this. So it's like, Mobile Fidelity's got a real PR problem. They need to address this in more than, this little vignette of a I want to say a meeting with the engineers. And to sit there and play like the engineers had nothing to do with it and they don't profit or anything from it is absolute bullshit. I mean, if you think that, then you've lost your mind because you don't understand business. But believe me, when big money rolls in as a tide, it raises all boats. And I can assure you, outside of the janitorial services at that facility, everybody's going to profit immensely when they do well with these one steps. People are pissed off and they want answers, and Mobile Fidelity's got to come up with these answers, and they need to be transparent. Mike Esposito had to tiptoe around. He couldn't go in there like a bull in a china shop like I would, and go in there aggressive and try to get answers that we want to hear. He tiptoed around, and although he did his best, he's a vendor, and he can't turn around and be aggressive and say, whatever he wants to say, especially while there's a camera running. But if you thought for 1 second that you were looking at reality in that environment, you're crazy. You don't understand body language, because these people, all three of them, were very guarded. They'd cut their eyes around. They had their arms together. They had a very, very guarded body awareness. And it's clear to me as the nose on my face that they were absolutely being guarded and they were hiding things. They didn't want to answer questions, even though Mike would point certain questions like the Abraxas question and Miles Davis question and things like that. They need to come out with a list of every single thing from where they started, and I'm talking before Music Direct came in. And they start in and they go all the way through a list of every single one of their recordings, and tell us what's been stepped on, what has been digitally sourced, DSD file, whatever. I mean, to sit there and play like you guys thought, like that you thought that they were going to be able to go back to the master tapes, what, 40 times? You have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know what you're listening to, because the reality is that tape degrades. It degrades from a reel to reel, that what we have, or a cassette. You can't play these things. Every single time you pass it through, it is degrading. And that's why it's called a first generation or a second generation. And I remember making, first generations. The first generation was an LP. And then we record it to a cassette, and that's a second generation. Matter of fact, I had a lot of trouble wrapping my head around the fact that, digital, it didn't matter how many times you recorded it. It was a 1-to-1 copy. It just blew my mind, and it still kind of does. But anyway, I think Mobile Fidelity's got a real PR problem right now, and they need to be very transparent and very quickly. They can't sit there and dick around with this. And what's going on is that these uppers, the upper echelon of the company, the fire alarm's been going loud, and the faster they take care of this, the better it's going to be. The faster they take care of this, the faster the fire is going to be put out. I think, in my mind, they need to adjust these prices. They need to stop all this boxing and all this kind of stuff. I know you guys are mad. I told you. It's your fault. It is. This is your fault. You know who I'm talking about. It's your fault that this is happening. And you kept buying all these boxes with one single album in them and all this kind of stuff. Look, I buy a box set. I know what I'm getting. And the thing is, though, I decide if I'm going to get it or I'm not. The thing is, though, you guys are hypocritical when you're sitting there wanting to blame and you're just mad because you spent all this money on something. Where did you think this was coming from? Did you really think that they're going to be able to go back and forth to these tapes? And you know, I mean, this is outrageous. You can't really understand tape and what tape does and how it degrades, and they're never going to let this stuff go. They're not even letting stuff out of the buildings now. So that's the reality is. So anyway, now you know that original master recording is a trademark, and I thought so all along. Even though I knew when I was buying my Beatles, like the White Album and Abbey Road, these were recorded before digital ever was around. So I understand that, and these are amazing. But I never bought into these boxes and all this kind of stuff. I came on board. I had a pause in my life because I got married and I had a child and we got sidetracked as far as music, but music's always been a big part of my life. But at the same time, I mean, I have quite a collection even at this time. My collection has grown rapidly and a lot in the last probably 2 years, or probably 5 years. But at the same time, I never jumped on that bandwagon of these UHQRs and Mobile Fidelity, Sound Lab, one steps and all this kind of stuff. I never had this FOMO that you guys are feeling. And the thing is, though, these people like you, exactly who I'm talking to, you know who I'm talking to, you are the ones who are creating FOMO. Just the same reason why I don't like and I don't appreciate Record Store Day. This is absolutely an abomination because what it does is it creates these people running around, grabbing up all the stuff that you want and then turn it around and try to resell it to you. And you buy it. Stop doing that. Come on. You know better than this. You're smarter than this. I see some of you people, and I know many of you are very smart. The thing is, though, is that there's some people and there's some pressings that I get. I understand it's like craft recordings, never done me wrong. Music on vinyl, never done me wrong. I just got this album just today. This is an outrageous album. It's incredible. And you can't tell me about this that it's digitally sourced and all this kind of nonsense because I just listened to it and it's absolutely stunning and amazing. So come on. You guys stop doing this. Stop buying into this. I say that Mobile Fidelity needs to come clean. And my favorite thing out of all of this was Michael Fremer, because I sat there and listened to Michael the other day, and I thought what he said was amazing. But I'm gonna still go back and say it's your fault. I mean, if they didn't think that they could get away with this, if they didn't think that, they wouldn't have tried it. And they knew they could get away with it, and they just changed some of the wording and semantics and all this kind of stuff. But they got away with it for 7 years is what they're saying, but who knows? Could be 15 years or more. But I really like Michael Fremer's idea on doing a GoFundMe and having Mobile Fidelity, honor it. And they send us a DSD LP and an analog LP. And we will pay a certain amount of money and we'll get 2 different LPs. One's a digital sourced and one's an analog sourced. I think that's actually a really good thing, and it'll also knock some of you off your high horses. Because I'm telling you, I've got amazing hearing. I was raised by opera singers. I have a broad, swath of music, from classical to opera to jazz to progressive jazz to rock. So, to sit there and say that you've got a better ear than me or whatever, I would put that to a test. And the reality is that I've listened to many digitally sourced albums, and many of them they're still done. I mean, it's like, I remember the first DDD album I ever saw was from Sting. Come on. You think it's going to be bad when Sting does it? You got to be kidding you, and you don't understand what you're talking about. And George Michael did the very next DDD that I saw. And these are incredible albums. So, like I said, I mean, I know it's rough to hear, and it's, you hear me sit there and say it's your fault, but it is your fault. And I'm sticking with that, and I totally, I understand where you were coming from, but at the same time, I knew this was going to end badly. And all I hear is a bunch of crybabies and people who are angry because they got duped. And the reason why you got duped is because you were hoping for something to happen that, no one else could do and all this kind of stuff. But like I said, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward thing. And to be honest with you, I'm really shocked that it took Mike Esposito and Mike from 45 RPM this long to actually reach out and go after this, because they know what they're talking about. They're not fools. They know exactly what they're talking about, and they also know what 40,000 copies looks like. They know what that is, and they know for sure that doesn't. Nobody's gonna let you go back. Sony especially is never gonna let you go back to those original master tapes 40 times. You can't believe that. It's outrageous. So anyway, that's my video. I'm sure I know it's incendiary, and it's too bad that I had to get this way, and it's tough love. I mean, I love the vinyl community here on YouTube and all this stuff, but this is tough love, and you guys have to look yourselves in the mirror and recognize it's all your fault. That's all I got.